in all seriousness, we'd be remiss the time we're in, right now and what's going on in Los Angeles and in our country. How are you doing as a father and as an athlete and as a spokesperson, for sport and, the black community with, Ahmed Aubrey and then, George Floyd? How are you feeling?
I mean, you feel heartbroken, you have all these emotions and you try to be articulate and you try to be sensitive and you try to, like, you don't want to just start screaming, but sometimes you want to yell because you want to be heard and you want to explain your point. And, I grew up in a small white town out, it was like 25,000 people, but we were pretty tight community. And you know that there's differences in color, but I think where I grew up at is, as a kid, we were always held responsible for our actions. And when you didn't act accordingly, there was consequences, whether it was your parents or whether it was somebody else. And one of the challenging things that you start to see with the way the system has been designed and set up is you almost have this like elitism or this above the law. And when you get to a certain level in or you're a certain elite, then you don't have anybody to answer to. You don't have any rules to follow. You don't have the same thing that a regular citizen would have, and that's a problem. And so when you see this as a father, I always try to teach my boys that don't get caught up in feeling ostracized or feeling like these people over here or that the color of their skin. Like, you can't do that. All people are human. I said certain men come in to set rules, to say that they are above people, but they can't adhere to the rules. And I said, you have to understand that certain things were designed this way. But, I'm really frustrated because I want my kids to be able to have a better life, to be able to see that, you know what, even though you don't agree with certain people, it's like being married. You don't always agree with your spouse.
Not in a quarantine, especially.
Yeah, exactly. You don't, and it's okay. It's okay not to agree. That doesn't mean that I love you any less, or it doesn't mean that I'm over you. And, when slavery happened and that's the thing, like, I think if people would really break it down basic and fundamental to their own life, if most people are in a relationship or most people who are doing this are married, if they try to own and kind of tell their partner what to do all the time and stand over them, like, do this, do that, go here, go there, they know that that's not going to end well for them. What ends up happening is you see what's out here in the streets, you start to have rebellion. And you start to get a person that says, oh, you don't want to listen to anything or my feelings don't matter, then take this and deal with it. And so, yeah, it's all wrong. It's wrong on so many levels. And, we're praying that justice will be done. But, there's just certain jobs that you just can't really you can't allow your emotions to get involved in it. And you can't be a bad apple. You can't be an emotional bad apple at certain jobs. Like, could you imagine us getting on a plane right now with a bad apple pilot?
Right. It's real clear that lives are at stake.
Absolutely. So every day that you put your badge on, you say a prayer and you hope that you go out there and you protect and serve. But sometimes when you can't even have a conversation with your fellow man, and a lot of this stuff could be de-escalated by just talking and communicating. And it doesn't have to be so heightened, but I think that there's there's going to be some changes in our nation, or else it's just going to be anarchy for a very long time. 2020, we all asked for, 2020 vision. We wanted to be able to see clear. So many things have happened this year that were just like, wow, can you take me to 2021?
Right. I mean, not what I had planned for. I mean, but it does push forward change and progress. I mean, in some levels, like we were joking about before we went online, me sitting here and I started this quarantine, I don't know if it was with the coronavirus, but I was ill. I couldn't move. And then in the recovery, I didn't have balance. I hit my elbow. I was like Bubble Boy. My son was making fun of me. But from this seat right here, I could reach people across the world. And so the ability of technology, we can reach more, we can see more what's happening in other parts of the world. We've seen other countries that have rebelled against former tyrannies. We're seeing change, or at least what we hope will look like change. The opportunity to hear one another, it's there. There's also people in power that their ignorance and things like that are being flushed to the surface. I don't know if that creates change, but certainly in my home, it's creating more of a dialogue. Are your kids? I mean, they must be asking questions. I mean, they see it on their news feed.
Yeah, I mean, we have conversations about it and we talk about it, and I think that's where it all starts. I think that the crazy thing about this virus is it's allowed families to actually spend time together and kind of force some conversations and dialogue. And we try to have dinner every night and we have conversation. We talk about certain things. And without this virus, I think we would have so much noise happening that we wouldn't be able to do it. And it's just been like one of the best things that could have happened to us as a family. But I wish that everybody else saw it like that. I know that it's not, every family is not like my family. And I know that it's tough out there for some people. But I think if you can have a genuine conversation with someone, you can start to peel back and see through their lens. Like, I'm sure you probably didn't know half of this stuff about me. And I know you didn't know half of this stuff about me because we've only really communicated via DM, via email. But now, as we get a chance to have conversation, you look at me as like, I'm just like you. I'm a father, I'm a dad, I'm out here hustling, doing things, and I'm not a bad guy. I'm not what you might think you might see if you see me on the street. No, have a conversation with me. I'm actually, I have a college degree. I have a beautiful wife. I have 2 boys. I live in a great house. I'm an law abiding citizen. I pay my taxes. I'm not trying to hustle anybody. I'm just a man here on this planet for a certain amount of time, and then I'm out.
So, what do you think it'll take? I mean, for the people who, we've seen a lot about, the police officers, and I don't know, if how racist they were, and we know that certainly their lack of care, compassion in the moments that really matter and valuing another person's life. I mean, how do you get them to see you as an individual? How do they get to see beyond color? How do we begin to like further this dialogue for people who were raised in such a backwards way and have held on to that?
I think it starts to, first of all, they got to be open to having the conversation and having the dialogue. Second, they have to know that when certain minority groups ended up here and with the immigrants and everything, you can't think that your race is greater than another's race. Like, it doesn't work that way. We're all part of a human race. And that's what you can see, that some people still feel that way. And as slaves, us being brought over here in 15 something, 14 something, whatever it was, and them feeling like they owned us, and then drawing up laws that would keep us below them, and people still feeling like that is the way things need to be done. Like, this is our norm. This is what we need to know. This is how we need to operate. And so what I think is that, I said it before, if like all this stuff, and what's crazy is that, Richard, is that there's so many things that happen that you do. Some things you can get away with for a period of time, but most things after you just can't get away with nowadays with all these cameras and phones and TV. I mean, video, like, it's just hard. So if cops or anybody wants to misbehave and act inappropriate or not accordingly, then not only should they be fired, but our tax dollars that help pay for their pension and help create a lifestyle for them that they'll never have to go out and earn a wage another type of way. I mean, they have that's at risk. That should be at risk for their families. And it's not that all cops are bad, but you almost have to hurt people where it really counts and where it really matters. And a lot of people, the only thing that they know that almost is like their God is money.
Yeah.
And that's sad, but that's kind of the reality. And it's, they can go to appeal, they can do all this, but, you see all these guys who have been wrongly convicted in the judicial system. I just saw this guy on America's Got Talent not that long ago, or I think it was last week or the week before, who was in jail for 37 years for something that a crime he didn't commit. And, it was a rape, but what ends up happening is they have, in their mind, they just the system wants to convict somebody to help have the persona and to help ease the fear of the public. And that's not fair.